Well, welcome back. My name is Jim Kaseman. We're talking about how to get to know God intimately. And again, the only way to do that is get through the scriptures and find out why does he do things the way he does it and how he thinks. And so we've been doing that. Now, we left off talking about the meal offering in the last session. We'd already talked about the sin offering and the trespassing offering and the burnt offering. And then we were left off talking about the meal offering. And of course, these are all sacrifices under the Mosaic law, which Jesus, according to Luke 24:44, which Jesus said he would fulfill. And that's just, those 5 offerings, just 5 of over 300 messianic prophecies in the Old Testament that talk about our foreshadowing of Jesus and what he would fulfill when he came on this earth. Now, we left off talking about the meal offering, and that offering has to do with walking in obedience to the Father, obeying God, walking in the Spirit. We left off talking about how we should be baptized with the Spirit, filled with the Spirit, as the sons of God, as many as are led by the Spirit, are sons of God. All right, now, I left off talking about how that that there's always, 2 words that always can pop out in the scriptures. Like, for example, life, death, sin, holiness, sickness, health, poverty, abundance, and obedience or disobedience. Disobedience will take you to hell. Obedience will take you to heaven. Obedience leads to salvation. Now, we didn't think anything of obeying the devil before we were Christians. We did everything that the world did. We were obedient to the devil and disobedient to God. Now, we're in a better family. Hell and the lake of fire is not near as good as heaven. So now we switched families. But now, all of the things we talked about, heaven and this abundant provision and no sin and holiness, and all these good things, why would we not be willing to obey God, who is love and has done all of these things for us? Why are we so reluctant to be willing to obey him? It seems like it's a struggle for Christians. It's not a struggle to obey the devil before they were Christians. But now, why is it such a struggle as Christians? Yeah, I want to get born again and then I can go to heaven, but that's all I want to do. I don't want to obey God and go through all that, living a holy life and all that. What's wrong with us? Can't we see that this is a better deal? And that obedience, obeying God, will take us to heaven. See, it's one thing to get born again and to have right standing with God and to be a child of God's. That's just the first step. After that is obeying the Holy Spirit as he leads and guides us and as he directs us in the Word. And if we'll do that, then the devil can't get a hold of us or the world. As long as we're obeying God, we are supernaturally protected. We're walking with him. We're walking close to him. He's our high priest. And so that is a great big insurance policy for heaven. Obeying God. Obedience leads to salvation. Obedience leads to heaven. So then after we get born again, then we live a life of obedience. We begin a life of obedience to God, which leads to heaven, instead of the former life of obedience to the devil and going to hell, or obedience to the world and its traditions and its customs and cultures that are contrary to the Word. All right. So then, I thought I would just throw that out. But it's not a hard thing. Under the Old Covenant, people tried to get saved. They didn't have any power to obey the Word. And so they couldn't save themselves under the law. It was impossible. And under the New Blood Covenant, we can't save ourselves either. It's impossible. We don't have the strength to do it. But the difference is, under the new blood covenant, God's given us not only the indwelling Spirit, but the baptism of the Holy Spirit with power, so that he helps us to obey him. He helps us to obey the word. You can't go wrong on a deal like that. All we have to do is what? Our free will, right? We've got a free will. Well, I'm willing not to yield to that sin. God's power is there to help us not to do it. I'm willing to obey you in everything you ask me to do. God's power is right there to help us obey. He helps us if we will let him, help us. All right. Then there's the peace offering, the fifth one, the final one. And this is a voluntary, again, offering. The burnt offering, meal offering, and the peace offering, all voluntary. It has to do with worship, praise, thanksgiving, obedience. And so here, this has to do with our fellowship with the Father. Fellowship with him. Now, the peace, having the peace of God, fellowshipping with God, being in his presence. So Jesus, of course, fulfilled that. We see that in John 17, 4 and 5. I have glorified you on the earth. Jesus is talking to the Father. He says, I finished the work which you have given me to do. And now, O Father, glorify me together with yourself, with the glory which I had with you before the world was. See, now, as a man, Jesus is really separate. You know, he's a man now. He's separated from the Godhead. And before he took on the form of a man, before the ages of time began, how far back is that? He's always existed. He's always been in fellowship with the Father. Always. And that was one of the biggest challenges he had in the Garden of Eden, the night before he was crucified. And let's see, what am I looking for here? Hebrews chapter 5, and down here the last half of verse 7. And he was sweating blood, remember, in the garden? And here's why. Because he says, if it's your will, Father, take this cup from me. What is the cup? It can be two things, a blessing or a curse. It could be life or death. Well, his cup is death tomorrow. And he is going to be separated from the Godhead. And it says here, and he was heard of his reverence towards God, his godly fear, his piety, in that he shrank from the horrors of separation from the bright presence of the Father. He'd never been separated from the Father before, through eternity. And even as a man, he was practicing that intimate fellowship with the Father. But now, he's going to be made sin, dead spiritually, separated from the Godhead, and go to hell for us. And now, he's fulfilled what God has called him to do, even to that point. But then, he said, peace. He said, now, O Father, glorify me together yourself with the glory which I had with you before the world began. That's his prayer now, John chapter 17. And now he says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you, not as of the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid, because peace I leave with you. And when he appeared to the disciples after his resurrection, he said, peace be unto you. Peace be unto you. All right, so Jesus has fulfilled that. Ephesians 2:14 says, for he himself is our peace. Jesus is our peace. Jesus is our peace. Through Jesus Christ, we have the peace of God. Now, you and I then, John, we see in Revelation 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me. To him who overcomes, I will grant to sit with me on my throne. And as I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. Who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. And then in the Gospel of John, and let me pick it up here in John chapter 14 and in verse 23. And Jesus answered and said to him, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word. See, obey my word. If we really love him, we'll obey his word. And my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. He who does not love me does not keep my words, and the word which you hear is not of mine, but the Father who sent me. So as we obey his word, as we keep his word, as we walk with him, then we'll be walking in his peace. Praise be to God. Well, our time is up. God bless you. Be blessed in everything you set your hands to do. Looking forward to seeing you in the next session.